Hey everybody, this is Devin Townsend, and you are listening to United Rock Nations.
Hello guys of United Work Nations. We are in amazing company with Devin. How are you?
I'm good. It is Tuesday, September 10th, 11:44 a.m., and I am busy as always. And and for the most part, everything is really good, man.
PowerNerd is will be released in October. What is your feeling about this new album?
My feeling it is the first album of a four-record process, very
Exactly.
similar to what I had done back in 2008 with the Devin Townsend project with Key, Addicted, Deconstruction, and Ghost. This is essentially like Devin Townsend Project Part 2 in a way. And Power Nerd was supposed to be a fun, easy, melodic way for me to reconnect with the audience after a couple of years of being away. However, during the process of making Power Nerd, my family and I went through a bunch of very difficult moments, and so the nature of Power Nerd ended up being a lot more melancholy. Uh, but I'm very proud of it, and I'm very proud that we made it during the period that it was made because it was such a difficult time that there were many moments where I thought that I couldn't finish it, but we did.
Okay. As usual, it's very difficult to find a musical common point between all the songs because you go to one style to another. What is your main inspiration when you write songs?
I try to follow an emotional experience, whether or not it's like with Power Nerd trying to express um, the process of grief when you lose somebody,
Mhm.
or that's an example of one, or uh, with Alien, for example, it was like a period of stress and paranoia. And so each record has an emotional impetus that starts it. It could be an experience. Ziltoid was about having kids, for example. And then when I'm writing, the main goal is to try to represent that feeling so that when I listen back to it, I can say, yeah, that sounds like the experience that I had, right? And then
Do,
hopefully the audience has a similar experience.
can we tell that it's like a therapy for you to write songs?
Maybe, but not one that um, seems separate from me. It doesn't seem like I'm trying to be a therapist to myself. It's just what I do. I'm a musician and I write, and if it is therapy to me, it's only because that's part of who I am and not because I have a goal to be to try and be a therapist to myself. I don't know if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Is that right that you write those songs in 11 days?
I
I-
compiled the songs in 11 days. So essentially, how I write is I create I catalog the ideas that I come up with into different categories. You know, one can be orchestral, one can be heavy, one can be quiet, one can be, um, wild card. And then when it comes time for me to record, and usually the reason why I know it's time to record is because those ideas are ripe. It's like an apple. You're like, okay, that one's ready. And then I'll take that category, heavy, for example, and then in the course of a month, 2 weeks, in this case, 11 days, I then turn it into a record and add a song and remove a song and change things and what have you. But this one was less time than I usually do. But I did that on purpose because my tendency is to go really far into these ideas. And Power Nerd musically was much simpler, so I really did my best to try and limit the amount of time I had to write. So it could contribute to the urgency of it, perhaps. Maybe so I don't overthink it. Whatever it was a conscious decision to do that assembly in a shorter period of time.
On this album, there is also some guests, Miles Kennedy, Jimmy Jasta. Tell us more about those collaboration.
Yeah, Miles Kennedy isn't on the record. That's a tour that I'm doing, so he wasn't involved with the record.
It's in the record, Miles.
On the record?
Yes, it's not on the
No,
record. No, no. Okay, okay. You
no,
just
no, no,
tour
no.
with him in
Just
October,
tour.
in November and December.
That's it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And so Jamie Jasta was on the record, and he's just, I love the guy, and he's got a great voice. And I thought he would be a great way to introduce the record would be to have a guy with like a hardcore voice, say petting the cat and PowerNerd, and it was awesome.
And
Um,
the video is very funny.
yeah, well, the video is funny, but it's also that's how my life has felt for the past 6 months. Like we've had to move over and over. We had to move house and I've had to build furniture and I've had to mow the lawn and I've had to do all this stuff, but I'm not great at any of it. And in fact, most of the time when I do those things, I tend to make it worse. So so the Power Nerd character in the video is as much as it's funny, there's a part of the ridiculous, like I'm a clown. I feel like a clown. That's what it's been with all the moving and all the renovation. So it seemed like it was much less of a comedy and much more of a documentary.
Let's talk about some songs of the album. I selected two songs that I want to talk about. The first one is Gratitude.
Yeah,
I love that song. Probably
thank you.
for me a pop hit with a powerful chorus. Tell us more about
Yeah,
that song. It's a very beautiful song.
thank you. I Gratitude is an interesting song for me because it was such a depressing time while I was making this record.
Oh,
One of the most depressing times of my life. And Gratitude I wrote to try to remind myself that even though it's depressing, even though it's sad, even though it's, you know, devastating in many ways, losing people, um, keeping in mind how fortunate we are to live this life and to have these experiences and to participate in these hard lessons and emotions. I mean, we're here for such a short amount of time. I never want to lose sight of how grateful I am to be on this ride. It's astounding. Like just the audacity to believe that we can be here as a human being is so the chances of it are so infinitesimally small that I try to keep gratitude as my baseline for my life experience now, even through moments of pain. And so that song was written during a period of really, really difficult moments for the family to remind myself that, yeah, it's difficult, but don't forget that it's beautiful, right?
that's the reason why it sounds more poppy than the other songs.
Yeah, well, I mean, ever since the beginning, I've written that type of music. You know, Ocean Machine, Life from Ocean Machine, or Stagnant from Terria. I mean, that's just a part of my DNA is that kind of Def Leppard hysteria, you know?
The second song is the one that most surprised me.
Ruby
Is
Quaker.
absolutely
Yeah, yeah, of course.
because with it begins with an acoustic part. Then
Yeah,
it seems like rockabilly, 60 rockabillys.
yeah,
Then it sounds like the heavy guitars a bit. It's like an elevator. This song.
yeah.
Tell us more about that song. It's really incredible.
Well, it wasn't going to end with that song. It was going to end with the song Goodbye, which is a song about accepting finally the loss of a loved one. So Goodbye is it was very most difficult song I've ever had to sing. I've never I've never been through an experience of having a song that was so difficult to perform. And then when that song ends, while I was working on it, it blew me apart every time I heard it. And I thought, okay, well, this is how you're leaving the audience. And what I realized during this process of Power Nerd is how you think when you're in the clutches of that sort of grief that it will never end. That's life forever. Forever you just cry about things, you know? Um, but the process of acceptance and process of denial and anger and all the things that go through uh, uh, a healthy process of grieving, there is another day. And usually days start for me with coffee. So Ruby Quaker, I added because I wanted people to be left with the sense that it does get better. A new day does come. And that's why I chose to put it on. So, as much as it's a silly song about coffee, the function of it on the record is very practical. It doesn't leave people with that sense of like just being blown away or blown apart. It ends with like, okay, that was super fucking heavy, but okay, where are we now? Okay, so it's another day. We got to get to work. I need a coffee, you know. So it was a practical decision rather than an absurd one.
This is about the lyrics, but about the music, why
Hmm.
all the styles in the same songs?
I have no idea.
No idea about it.
Yeah, I have no idea. I have ideas about concepts and themes, but I have no idea about music ever.
As you said before, perhaps you pick one of heavy, one of acoustic, one of you pick all that parts on your computer, probably.
Maybe, but I think a lot of it's just intuition. You know, I just for example, somebody asked me about the midsection of Ruby Quaker the other day, and they said, "Well, why did you make it this complicated metal part in that section?" And
Absolutely,
I'm
it's
like,
very complicated. Yes.
but I have no idea. I can guess. I think if I was to guess, I probably just got bored.
Excellent. Let's talk about touring. As you said before, you will tour with Miles Kennedy in the UK in November and the beginning in December, but nothing in Europe at the moment. Any chances to have you in Europe and of course in France
Yes.
on
So I'm just
2025,
I
probably?
was just I was just presented the dates for the tour this morning, and so
Oh,
when I finish the interviews, I will then be able to I'll be able to confirm them. But the answer is yes, 100%. I'll be there.
so in 2025
Yes, sir.
and in France also.
Yes, I think so. I'm sure. I mean, I would be upset if we weren't.
So thank you very much, David, for all this information about PowerNerd. Very good album.
Thank you, my friend. It's a
Uh,
pleasure to see you, and thank you for the support.
thank you very much.